Welcome back to another episode of the Extraordinary Project podcast. I am, of course, your host, Robi. We have been in a little bit of a hiatus. It's been a little bit of a while, since we have dropped an episode on here. But I am back, and I am stoked to be. Got a little bit of a plan of how I want to run this going forward. So going forward, the plan is to release, to do some roughly like 20-minute episodes once a week, released on a Monday, where we'll be discussing topics relating to training, nutrition, mindset, habits, just life in general, as well. But for now, I just want to quickly go do a little bit of a revisit, especially for some people that may not know as much about my story. So who want to get little bit of a better understanding. Go back through a little bit of the story so far, what's happened since I last dropped an episode. Hopefully you can take something positive from this, even though it's not a specific kind of like discussion point, more about me just rambling into a microphone with no one else in my room and Mitch, my dog, giving me staring me daggers because I haven't taken him out since this morning. So, quick rewind. After a very active childhood, played a lot of sport, always enjoyed playing sport, being outside, all that kind of stuff. I definitely hit a rough patch after school. Even though I was playing rugby, I wasn't really going to the gym. I wasn't eating very well. I was drinking a lot of alcohol. I wasn't looking after myself, which is probably like the key thing. But I also didn't know where I was going. I didn't really have like a path of what I wanted to achieve in life. I wasn't sure what I wanted. Like if you asked me what I wanted to be doing in 5 years, I couldn't answer that question. Obviously, as I said, I wasn't looking after myself. And then after some time overseas, I started to really realize that if I didn't change things, they weren't going to get better. And I needed to move in a more positive direction. So I went back to uni, and I decided, enough was enough, and started making the changes to move in a direction that I actually felt proud of and felt like I wanted to do. So I got healthy. I started training properly. I learned as much as I could. I dropped a bunch of body fat. I built muscle. I got fitter. I stopped drinking as much alcohol, started eating better, all the stuff that goes into it. That progressed well through the first lockdown. And then the second lockdown happened. In the second lockdown, had a bit of an impact on my progress. And it was because I'd moved out of home. And I didn't have as much access to training equipment. I changed jobs, so I was working purely as a personal trainer at that point, and it was a bit more difficult. Just things were just a little bit more difficult. But things turned back up. So my friends helped me and I decided that we wanted to do the Cairns half Ironman in 2022, so the year after the lockdowns, and had a really good time training for it. Did really well, got really, really fit, and then I decided what made sense was just to go straight into an Ironman. It's not just another half, like a full Ironman. So I signed up with a coach who I trusted, and then things kind of went downhill. And I mean, the coaching did play a part. It wasn't really coaching. It was programming that was dressed up as coaching, but it was more because of the fact that I bit off more than I could chew, right? So when I was training for the half Ironman, I could get through, 30 odd PT sessions a week. Plus, I think I was doing about 13 training sessions in total. No, 9 sessions. Sorry, it was 9 training sessions in total because it was 2 of each discipline and then 3 strength as well. And I could really, really manage that. Like it was obviously it took a lot of effort and it took away from my social life, but I could manage that. But when it got to the full Ironman, I was like, that's when it got to like 13 sessions a week, including the strength. And so I was basically training as a full-time athlete whilst doing full-time face-to-face PT, whilst trying to build an online business and sort of have some form of a social life and try to build a relationship as well. So I cooked myself very quickly. Like that's all that you could use to describe me was just cooked, and just started to feel super, super, super empty. So anyone that's done like an endurance event before, and especially like your first one, and you kind of you just dive headfirst into it, and you don't really have the thought process of like, how am I going to manage my social life? How am I going to manage like my family time? How am I going to manage like business? And you end up you just try to do it all at once, and you end up just completely fried because you can only juggle so many balls at once. Eventually you're going to have to drop one. And for me, that was the Ironman training. So I just had to give it up. I said, no more for now. It's not what's going to help. Like, it's not helping me at the moment. It's taken away from me. And then over the next 18 months, I really, really struggled. And through some periods of like genuine full on complete burnout. And I'm not talking about like, oh, I was like super, super tired and that made things difficult. I'm talking like I would get up at 4:30. I would make my way into the gym for about 5:45, and then I would coach some sessions between 6 and 10:30, and then I'd go home and I'd go to sleep, and I'd sleep for pretty much the rest of the day because I was that fried and I couldn't train. I didn't have a social life. My relationship genuinely struggled. I was just in bits. I was like eating carbs just to survive. So as you can imagine, body didn't go in a very good direction. Um, so yeah, like I couldn't train. I couldn't prepare for an event. Like it was what it was. By the end of 2024, I had managed to start turn things back into a positive area, and I decided I wanted to do 5 events in 2025, and these were spread out a little bit different each one, but there was some progression to them. And the key was that these 5 events were going to help me prove to myself that I was capable of doing endurance stuff again. I could actually like put myself under the load. Um, and so, and to learning to trust myself as well. So I signed up with a new triathlon coach, and Frankie sort of better suited my needs. I learned to trust my body again. I started building myself back to a point where I could actually get through these events from like a thriving standpoint rather than surviving. And so I did the big Husky Classic Triathlon in February. I did the Hoka Half Marathon in May. I did a solo high rocks at Sydney in July. And then I did the Sydney Marathon at the end of August. And then I did the Little Husky Standard Tri in November. Big year. The first race went pretty well. And then things started to get a little bit more difficult again. And the burnout started to pop up again. And I was, at that point, I was struggling mentally because this was supposed to be the good year. And I kind of felt like I'd gone backwards a little bit. And so this was when, after around about 18 months of sort of deliberation and trying to make a decision, I turned to TRT to support my journey, which is testosterone replacement therapy. And this was a huge, huge change for me. So I got through the Hoka Half Marathon, which was like the week before I started TRT. And I really want to put an emphasis on the got through as opposed to the thriving. But things started to get much better from there. I did put on a lot of weight very quickly, which it comes when you start TRT, because you build a lot of muscle, but you also retain a lot of water, but you haven't quite lost the body fat yet. So the weight went up. So I think I topped off at about 90 kilos, which is the heaviest I've ever been. And that impacted both High Rocks and the Sydney Marathon, but I got through them. And then things started to settle down around September last year. And I started to see my energy become like more consistent. Training was in a good position. I could like properly commit to work and relationships and being social as well. So I was seeing some huge, huge changes there. Since then, so I got through the classic, so the Little Husky Standard, that went really well. This year so far, I've done the Big Husky Classic again, and I improved from last year. Although we didn't have the swim, but I improved the bike and the run times. And then I did the Sydney Ironman 70, Western Sydney Ironman 70.3, and did really, really well there. Not so great in the swim, but overall really, really well. So and one of the key things was how quickly I recovered from those events. Like I didn't feel like it was taking like weeks to get back to feeling normal. It was days, if that. So definitely I've come a long way since in the last kind of 12 months. And it is really, really easy to highlight the use of testosterone in this journey, because I'm adding an extra hormone. Like, you know, it is in theory it's performance enhancing, but it's a therapeutic dose, so it's not supposed to be performance enhancing. But it is fair to look at that, and for a lot of people, if they were struggling, if you put testosterone into them, they would instantly do better. But I want to emphasize the fact that it was not a silver bullet, and it didn't change everything. Like, I also spent 18 months trying to find literally any other way that I could fix the problem. Like, the first time I got my bloods done was in October 2023, and I knew there was a problem then. And I tried everything I could over the next 18 months. I tried different diets. I tried supplements. I went to my GP, who then sent me to an endocrinologist, the hormone doctor, who gave me literally no help. I went to a naturopath to work there was a lot of stuff that I did to try and help. before going down the TRT route, and none of it worked. Because the reason I wanted to do as much as I could is because TRT is for life. But I knew it would help a lot, but it was for life. So the point of what I'm talking about now is, and what I want to be taken away from the lesson of this journey is that, and it should be relatable across the board, is that especially someone like you who may not be on the same journey or may not be a candidate for TRT, wherever you are now is not an indication of what you are doing now. Like, if you've decided to make a change, where you are now is not due to the change you made last week. It's because of what you were doing 6, 12 months ago, your entire life before making that change. So it's an indication of what you were doing previously. So where you are now is an indication of your habits and your behaviors in a past time. So for instance, the first period of burnout that I experienced was because I was doing the wrong thing then. I was trying to do too much. And it's because I was overtraining and undercovering for like 6 to 9 months. And that led to my body not being able to handle it anymore. And now that I've come out the other side of that burnout, it's not necessarily because I'm doing all the right things now. I'm improved now, but it's not necessarily because of that. It's because I made the steps last year and the year before so that I could move from survival to thrival, survival to thrive, survive to thrive. And look, you are potentially listening and be like, yeah, look, Robbie, it's easy for you. You work in a gym, like, you know about nutrition, blah, 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 blah. The reality is that the issues that I had weren't in an area that I had any knowledge in, let alone could be considered an expert, even though I'm not sure if I would consider myself an expert on movement and nutrition, but I didn't know much about it. And a lot of people that I spoke to didn't know much about it either. So what happened is when I started to ask questions and I started to push more and I started talking to more and more people who may have been able to help, this is where I started to find out what was wrong with me and how I might be able to fix it. So the key there is when things are going wrong for you, if you don't do anything about it, it won't get better. Like, and it's kind of like a key one. And a lot of people throw up like the hormones thing. And I've actually been someone who has been in a position where my hormones have, like, I've done the test and I've understood how they're impacting my position. And like, you can say like hormones, but like, if you're still eating like shit, if you're not moving, like if you're not doing like the bare minimum to help move you in the positive direction, and sometimes moving in the positive direction is just not moving in a bad direction, because things will get better, providing you do something about it. But if you use the excuse of hormones and you're not actively seeking treatment and you're not actively trying to eat better and move better, it's kind of on you. Like, realistically, like, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility to make a change. Like, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but like, if you don't move towards the light, you're never going to get to the light. You're just going to be in the tunnel the whole time. And that's what I want to talk about, that action creates change. Like, regardless of whether it's correct action or not, if you're sitting here thinking, I don't know what to do, just do literally anything, because that anything will create the momentum and the movement that will then lead you to learning about doing the right thing and then the direction you should be moving in. Like, out the back end of the burnout, I'm not 100% fixed, but I have like good periods and I have less good periods, but I know now how to manage them and how I can feel better and how I get back to the good. So when things go wrong, I can start taking the actions to make myself feeling better again. So as I said, the other week, I completed that second ever Ironman 70.3, and it was the first time in 4 years that I'd done a race that long. I managed a PB, which was great. I felt great afterwards. Keen to do another one again, even despite the fact that I had the worst start to a triathlon I've ever had. Like, I jumped in the water and I got about 100 meters and I literally thought, fuck, I don't know if I can get to the other end of this. So, yeah, like, that's like, you can always do something about it, because if you do something, eventually that's going to start moving you in the right direction. Like, it doesn't have to be like straight away the right thing, because it won't be. Like, there's so many times where you'll meet someone and they'll be like, I'm just waiting for the motivation, or I'm just waiting for the right time, or I'm just waiting for this. Like, there will never be the right time. There'll never be the right thing. There'll never be the right action. You make mistakes and you correct and you repeat. You create more and more versions until eventually you get the right one. I have to remember exactly how he puts it, but my business mentor puts it this right way, where it's like, if you do something once and then release it and it doesn't work, and you don't go back and fix it to do it again, like, what's the point of doing it in the first place? Because it's repetition of effort and improving things every time you do it that leads to results down the line. And that comes from that action in the first place, but not just the first action, the second action and the third action. to constantly make the change. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today. And the sort of like that, the positive lesson. And if you can take any ramblings from the guy that's talking to a camera and a microphone and his laptop in a room by himself for 15 minutes, then it is that, like, if things aren't going your way, starting to make a change is the best thing you can do, because whether or not it's the right change or not, it's going to create the momentum to get you on the right path. So it's like anything is always better than nothing, unless of course you're choosing to do nothing. But like, this is a very specific circumstance. Like, the choice to do something, 95, like if you're stuck in a situation, the choice to try to make a change is always going to be the thing that leads you. And like, I'll give an example from like a client that I'm working with at the moment, and something that we've done with him is that, like, I actually only gave him his first gym program. He's been with me for about 6 months. I only gave him his first gym program last month because he was not in a position where just adding training was going to help him. Like, just go to the gym. Like, that wasn't actually going to help him then, because he tried and ended up actually having a bit of a breakdown in the gym because he was so stressed that the pressure of getting to the gym and going through it's got too much for him. And whilst for some people, oh, it's like men used to go to war, haha. Well, you're not going to war now. But the reality is that, like, he was in a position where he needed to remove more stress before he could add more. And going to the gym, believe it or not, is stress on the system. So we needed to get him to a point where he had the room to then put that stress on his system. So for the first couple of weeks, we were talking about like small habits in the morning and the evening, during the day, like going for a walk when he gets home, like limiting social media use. Like, that's like, and it seems like, oh, duh. But then the amount of people that are treading water at the moment, and one of the reasons they're treading water is because they're so fried from the nervous system perspective when they get from home from work, that all they're capable of doing is lying down on the couch on their phone or on YouTube for a couple of hours before passing out. Like, that's not normal. And we need to create a support system for those people so that they are capable of then, like, it's all well and good saying like yelling calorie deficit and go to the gym at people, but like, you need to create an environment for them to actually be able to do well. And that's what I try to do in my work. Like, obviously I love when I get people doing marathons and Ironmans and watching them achieve these awesome results. But for me, the real work is not getting the guy that's doing really well to do a little bit better. The real work is getting the guy that's doing really badly to doing okay. Because once you get to okay, you get momentum. It's a lot. Once you've built a lot of the right habits, that, you know, a lot of people will understand nutrition for a long time and start to struggle, but as soon as you just turn that dial back up, things get better. But if you're struggling to get off the couch once you get home in the evening, like this client was falling asleep on the couch at night. He'd wake up 3 o'clock in the morning in his clothes on the couch with his phone on his chest because he'd fallen asleep mid scroll. Like, that's not a good sign. And if I just say go to the gym at that point, like, I might as well tell him, you know, drink lemon water, because he's going to do the same fucking thing. Anyway, that's the ramblings for me, about 18 and a half minutes. Hopefully you took something positive from it. If you have, please tell someone about this. I'd really appreciate it if you could tell people about what I do. Share it if you have got the link. Share it to your friends. Share it to your mum. Share it to your dog. And if there's anything that you do want me to talk about or discuss, my DMs are always open. So slip me a DM and we'll go from there. But apart from that, thank you so much for jumping on and being a part of the Extraordinary Project. I'm going to try and do this a little bit more consistently over the next 6 to 12 months. I'm going to be on a road trip up to Cairns, well, up to Brisbane first, and then a month, and then up to Cairns. We're in Cairns for 10 weeks. So maybe I'll have some cool topics to talk about when I'm up there, but the setting's going to change a little bit over the next while. But thank you very much for being a part of it. Much love from Robi, and I will see you in the next one.